One day, Rheneas was puffing down the line. He had a large train of goods that he was taking to the mountain village. But when Rheneas started the ascent to the station, he heard a loud burst. "Ow!" he cried. Steam billowed everywhere. "You burst your safety valve, Rheneas," said his driver. "This train was too much of a strain. We can't pull it any further." "But we need to deliver these goods to the village," said Rheneas. "We'll just have to wait for another engine to pass," said his driver. "Then hopefully we can get some help from them." So for the next hour or so, Rheneas and his driver waited for another train to show up. Suddenly, Rheneas saw Sir Handel coming down the hill. "Sir Handel," whistled Rheneas, "can you please help me? My safety valve burst, and I need someone to take this train to the village." "I can't help," said Sir Handel. "I have to take these passengers to Croven's Gate, or they'll miss their connection." And Sir Handel raced away. Bother! So for another hour or so, Rheneas and his driver waited for another train to show up. Suddenly, Rheneas saw Peter Sam coming down the hill. "Peter Sam," whistled Rheneas, "please, can you help me? My safety valve burst, and I need someone to take this train to the village." "I'm sorry," said Peter Sam, "but I can't help you. I'm already running late with my farmer's train, and they need to get to the market." And Peter Sam continued down the hill. Double bother. So for another hour or so, Rheneas and his driver waited for another train to show up. Suddenly, Rheneas saw Starlowy coming down the hill. "Starlowy," whistled Rheneas, "please, can you help me? My safety valve burst and I need—" "Your safety valve burst?" Yes. It had for the past 3 hours, and during that time I've been waiting for an engine to take this train up to the mountain village for me." "Well, you don't need to wait any longer," said Starlowy. "I am always happy to help a friend in need." "Thank you, Starlowy," sighed Rheneas. "I was worried I'd have to say triple bother." Starlowy laughed. From there, Rheneas was left on a siding at the bottom of the hill, and Starlowy backed down onto the train. "Be careful, Starlowy," said Rheneas. "Don't break down yourself." "I won't," said Starlowy. "I can make to the top. I know I can." And with that, Starlowy started up the hill. The train was much heavier than Starlowy thought. "I can see why Rheneas broke down, but I can manage. I know I can do it." But the further Starlowy went up, the less likely it seemed. Rheneas began to worry. "I can do it, I can do it, I can do it," Starlowy chanted himself. "I can do it, I can do it, I've done it! Phew!" Rheneas whistled in delight, and Starlowy was very proud. Starlowy took the train of goods to the mountain village station. Then he raced down back the hill to find Rheneas. "I knew I could do it, I knew I could do it," Starlowy cheered. "I knew you could do it, I knew you could do it," echoed Rheneas. "Come on, Rheneas," said Starlowy. "Let's get you back to Croven's Gate so you can get repaired at the steamworks." "Sounds good to me," said Rheneas. And with that, the two old friends headed for home. Bear is one of the diesel engines on the island of Sodor. He works on the main line, pulling goods and passengers up and down the line. When Bear works, his engine makes a growling sound. It's actually the reason he got his name. Bear likes his name, but sometimes he feels self-conscious about his growling. "Don't worry about it," said Henry. "Everyone has insecurities." "Like what?" asked Bear. "Well, James is always worried about his paint,
and Gordon is always concerned about his reputation." "What about you?" asked Bear. "Well, I worry about failure. I have a history of problems, and I worry that one day I will fail for good and no longer be useful." "I know you will always find a way to be useful," said Bear, feeling a bit better. That made Henry feel better too, and the two engines fell asleep. The next day, Bear came to Knapford for his morning passenger train. The people on the platform were talking excitedly. They were going to the circus that was opening today. The passengers were soon all on board, and with the blow of a whistle, Bear set off. The circus was to take place at Kildane, so whenever Bear stopped at any other station, very few passengers would get off, but plenty would get on. The coaches were soon starting to get packed. Eventually, when Bear reached Wellsworth, extra coaches had to be attached to the train. "Great. Now even more people will get to hear my growling," thought Bear to himself. As he waited, Bear overheard the station master and his driver talking. "I just received a phone call from the circus," he said. "Their bear apparently got loose and ran away." "Well, we'll keep an eye out for it," said Bear's driver. But Bear personally hoped that they wouldn't find the bear. As Bear came to Gordon's Hill and began to climb, he could hear his engine growling loudly. "Is that the bear?" shouted one of the passengers. "No, you idiot," said another passenger. "That's the diesel." Bear tried to ignore their words, but it wasn't easy. Eventually he came to the top of the hill, and as he raced down the other side, his engine stopped growling. Bear was relieved. But as he stopped at the signal, he began to hear growling. "Oh no," he thought, "not more growling." But he soon realized that the growl wasn't coming from his engine. Bear looked around, and he saw what appeared to be a brown fuzzy bush. And when it moved a little closer, Bear knew exactly what it was. "Well, we found the circus's bear," said Bear quietly. "But how do we get it to the next station? We can't keep it in the coaches." "Well, I'll call the station master at Marin," said Bear's driver. "Maybe we can come up with an idea by then." So Bear's driver went into the signal box. As the driver closed the door, Bear's engine started to growl again, and just like that, the bear started to move closer. "That's it," Bear thought. "I can use my growl to guide the bear to the station." Bear's driver came out, though he was very quick to jump back into Bear. "Let's go slowly," said Bear, "and then let the bear follow my growling." "Good idea," said his driver. "Now, can we please go before he gets us?" So Bear rolled slowly forward, and the circus bear followed at a distance. Bear soon arrived at Marin. The circus people were already there, ready to collect the bear. "Thank you, Bear," said the ringmaster, "you and your spectacular growl." Every passenger on the train cheered, and for the first time, Bear was proud of his growl. As Bear returned that night, the engines could talk of nothing but of Bear and his spectacular growl. "It's nice," he told Henry, "to prove that something you thought was silly turned out to be useful." Henry couldn't agree more.
One morning, Sir Handel and Peter Sam were in a heated debate. Trucks have no roofs, so if Ada, Jane, and Mabel have no roofs, they are trucks. But they have seats. Coaches have seats. So if Ada, Jane, and Mabel have seats, they are coaches. What do you think, Starlowy? "Oh, I know better to get into these debates," said Starlowy, "especially this early in the morning." "Well, whatever," said Sir Handel. "Anyway, I have to take my morning passenger train, with proper coaches that have roofs. and Sir Handel steamed away. Starlowy sighed. That engine never seems to learn any sense, he said. Every time we try, it doesn't seem to stick. I am his best friend, said Peter Sam, but even I can't truly understand him. I do have an idea, said Starlowy. We can do it later. He explained his plan to Peter Sam. That kind of sounds more like a prank to me, said Peter Sam. Let's do it. And they did, after talking with Sir Topham Hatt, of course. Sir Handel was due for another passenger train, and Peter Sam had to take a goods train. Peter Sam had asked Sir Topham Hatt to switch trains with Sir Handel, but he wasn't going to tell Sir Handel about it. So that way, he said, when he pulls a train with two vans in front, he will think he's pulling coaches. And once he realizes he's pulling trucks, it'll be too late. Sir Handel puffed in Croven's gate. He was about to fetch his next line of coaches when Starlowy quickly said, Don't worry, Sir Handel. I'll go get your coaches for you. You want them with roofs, right? Yes, don't give me any of those truck wannabes. Sir Handel waited for a bit, and then he felt a bump. Sir Handel quickly glanced up and back. He saw two tall roofs right behind him, and Starlowy behind a brake van in the way back. Thanks, he said. No problem, said Starlowy, and with a blow of the conductor's whistle, Sir Handel set off with his goods train that he thought was a passenger train. Sir Handel puffed down the line. The train was a little heavier than he thought, but he didn't seem to mind too much. For all Sir Handel knew, he was taking a large tourist train, and he never once decided to look back at what he was pulling. He arrived at the first station and came to a stop. What are you doing, Sir Handel? Asked his driver. This isn't time to rest. What do you think I'm doing? Said Sir Handel. I'm letting off passengers. What passengers? We're taking a goods train. Sir Handel took a good look behind him. What? He cried. Why am I taking goods? I'm supposed to be taking passengers. It's not a big deal, Sir Handel, said his driver. Let's just get going. No, I won't. I refuse to take trucks that I wasn't supposed to take. Wait, Starlowy was supposed to give me my coaches. Why didn't he... Just then, he heard a whistle from behind. That sounds like Peter Sam. Peter Sam puffed in with some coaches. You and Starlowy tricked me, didn't you? Hey, I just wanted to switch trains. You're the one complaining. You always complain. If anything, you deserve this. Peter Sam started to leave. Oh yeah? If I deserve this for complaining, then you deserve this. Sir Handel had bashed into Peter Sam's train. What are you doing, you maniac? Oh no. The crash had injured several passengers and had blocked the station from anyone getting through. Sir Handel had realized his mistake. It took a long time for the scene to be cleaned up. Once it finally was, Sir Handel, Starlowy, and Peter Sam returned home. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting. Words cannot describe how furious I am. Peter Sam, you purposely neglected to tell Sir Handel about the change of plans. Starlowy, you purposely lied to Sir Handel about what he was pulling. But Sir Handel, you purposely crashed into Peter Sam's train and caused damage and delay. I would make this punishment equal, but Sir Handel, it is clear to me that this temperamental behavior of yours has not changed and probably never will. So I am sending you away to work in the quarry alone. It will give you some time to think about everything you have done. Yes, sir. Sir Handel puffed away. As for you two, said Sir Topham Hatt, you will stay in the sheds until further notice. Do I make myself clear? Yes, sir, said Starlowy Peter Sam. And with that, Sir Topham Hatt was satisfied and left the sheds. It took a couple of weeks for Starlowy and Peter Sam to start working again, but it took much longer for Sir Handel to return. When Sir Handel did finally return, Starlowy and Peter Sam were worried. They were worried that Sir Handel might not accept their apology, but to both of their surprises, Sir Handel apologized first. He apologized for everything that he had done in the past and for how mean he was. Starlowy and Peter Sam were shocked, but they happily accepted his apology and apologized themselves. It was clear that Sir Handel finally had changed for the better, and to think that it all started with a little argument about coaches and trucks.
One day, the station master came into Sir Topham Hatt's office, but he was surprised to see Sir Topham Hatt in his holiday clothes. "Are you going somewhere, sir?" "Yes, indeed. Today, I am going to be riding in my own trains to get a better understanding of what it is like to be a passenger." "So, in other words, you're spending a day in the passenger's shoes?" "Yes, basically. And don't worry, Mr. Percival will be taking care of things while I'm on my day off." And with that, Sir Topham Hatt exited the office. As he waited on the platform, Sir Topham Hatt began to observe. "Well, everyone seems cheery this morning." "Mommy, Mommy, look, it's Thomas." "Yes, it is, but we are not riding Thomas today. We are riding an Emily." "Aww."
Thomas has always been a favorite among children.
Everyone climbed into the coaches, and as the whistle blew, Emily set off.
These coaches have been in use for many years," said Sir Topham Hatt. "But I think they're starting to show their age. Not as comfortable as the Express, but Emily is sure given a splendid ride."
When Emily arrived at the station, Sir Topham Hatt got off.
"Well, let's have a look around the station, shall we? Oh, I don't think I've seen him around before."
"Ah, Sodor is such a beautiful place. I might consider moving here. What do you think of that, Bernie?" "Bernie? Bernie?" "Wow, overreacting much? Oh God, I am so sorry." "No, it's fine. Bailey just hates animals. I'm Leah. Owen, pleasure to meet you. And this is Bernie. Aw, she's cute."
"Yes, Bernie is very cute. What's that over there?"
Wouldn't it be funny if we sprayed the F word on the building? Yes.
Uh-oh, I should report this to the station master.
"Sir? Shh! I'm undercover." "Oh, sorry. I wanted to get an idea of what it is like to be a passenger on my railway." "I see. Has it been fun?"
"So far. But anyway, I saw two delinquents talking about vandalizing the station."
Uh-oh, I guess I'll go check on them. Thanks for letting me know. "Excuse me, boys. What do you think you're doing?"
"What?
I'm going to have to confiscate that spray can if you don't want me to call the cops."
All right, geez, we were just joking around."
"Thank you, you two. Now go about your day."
"Well, that's good that mess was dealt with."
"Here's James."
That was loud. I've got to get on James's case for that."
Sir Topham Hatt and a few other passengers climbed aboard, and soon James left the station.
"Well, the seats are more comfortable," Sir Topham Hatt said, "but it's hard to enjoy with James bouncing around."
When James came to a stop at the junction, Sir Topham Hatt got out.
"I think this will be my last train for the day. Now, the engine who should be pulling it today would be Thomas."
"Hello, sir. I didn't expect to see you here."
"Yes, I'm taking a day in the passenger's shoes to get a feel of what it's like."
"I see. Well, I'll be sure to give you a wonderful ride."
"Thank you, Thomas."
Sir Topham Hatt climbed into Annie, and with a blow of the conductor's whistle, Thomas set down the line.
"I must say, Annie and Clarabelle are wonderfully great coaches. Thomas isn't as bumpy as James is. This might be my favorite ride today." "Thank you for the ride, Thomas. But for now, I think I need a break from riding around in trains."
"Of course, sir." And with that, Thomas left the final station. One afternoon, Duncan was taking some passengers to the Elephant Park. He had just turned onto the track to the park.
As he went along, though, he noticed something about the tracks. They were a lot bumpier than usual. "Easy there, Duncan," said his driver. "No need to rock and roll." "It's not me. It's these tracks. They're so..." Duncan had derailed. "What the heck was that?" There appears to be a large crack in the track, and actually, he looked behind him. There were several cracks and bumps along the rails. "What did I say? I told you it wasn't me bouncing." Later that night, Duncan was complaining to the others. "Those tracks are never kept up. Why do we even have so many trains going to Elephant Park? Why does Mr. Percival bother keeping that line open?" "It's a nice tourist spot," said Starlowy, "and it's good for a couple of laughs." "Laughs?" asked Duncan. But then he remembered the elephant statue in the water, and how that got there because of his mistake. "Oh, don't remind me of that. I hate having to look at that stupid statue every time I take a train there." "Oh, I know you do." But before Duncan could tear into Starlowy, Rusty came up. "We inspected the tracks to Elephant Park. They aren't safe at all, and they'll need to be taken out." "They'll be replaced with new ones, though, right?" asked Starlowy. "I'm not sure. There might not be enough traffic to warrant getting new tracks." "Well, that's fine with me," said Duncan. "One less job for me means more time to rest. I never get rest." And just like that, Duncan puffed away to find somewhere to sleep. Unfortunately, Rusty turned out to be right. The railway ended up closing the line to Elephant Park. All the engines were sad that that part of the line was closed. Even Duncan was sad, but he didn't want to admit it. One day, he was puffing to what used to be the fort of the park. Rusty was there with some workers in cement. "What's going on here?" asked Duncan. "We're building a trail to Elephant Park," replied Rusty. "There's still plenty of people who want to visit the park, so Mr. Percival thought of making use of the old track beds as hiking and biking trails. It's rails to trails, he says." "Huh," grunted Duncan. "Well, we'll see how that turns out. Can't wait to have to pull more trains again." And with that, Duncan left the worksite. It took a couple of weeks to complete the trail, but at last it was complete with some new rails to drop off the passengers at the trailhead. And Duncan was to take the first train to the trailhead. "Woo-hoo, I'm so excited," said Duncan sarcastically. "Oh, come on, Duncan," said his driver. "At least you don't have to look at the elephant in the lake every time you take this train." "Huh, that's true, I guess." Duncan set off with his train. When he reached the trailhead, he came to a stop. Hikers and tourists climbed out. They all talked excitedly and happily, and it even started to wear off on Duncan. And when Duncan left the trailhead, he was happier than he had been in a long time. That night in the sheds, Duncan returned to find Rusty and Starlowy. "You know," he said, "I think it was for the best that the old rails to Elephant Park ended up becoming a trail. People seem to be having fun, and are going to enjoy visiting the old station and the elephant in the lake." "I'm glad to see you're happy about it, Duncan," said Rusty. "Are you sure this is even Duncan talking?" teased Starlowy. "I've never seen Duncan so happy about Elephant Park before." "Don't push your luck," snapped Duncan. Starlowy laughed. Then Rusty laughed. And finally, Duncan laughed. And they laughed all night long. It was Christmas time on the island of Sodor. Snow covered the hills, but luckily, ice didn't cover the tracks. The island can be quite beautiful during the winter, and there is no place more beautiful than Henry's Forest. At least, that's what Henry says. Every December, Henry would spend some time in the forest watching the children play in the snow and the deer prance through the trees. If you thought Henry's Forest was already peaceful, wait till you see it during winter. Unfortunately, the Christmas season is very busy. Henry hasn't the time to stop in the forest. He was always busy pulling passengers or freight. And now it was a couple days before Christmas, and Henry still hadn't got the chance to stop in the forest. He was taking a large freight train to Brendam Docks.
When he arrived, Salty was there.
"Ahoy there, Henry," he said. "You don't seem as cheery as usual."
Well, it's just I haven't had the chance to visit my forest. All these trains wear an engine out.
"Aye, me hearty. The docks have been busier than ever. So many gifts and packages to unload and send off. We haven't the time to put any decorations."
I'm going to be taking decorations to Knapford. That's where we're going to have our Christmas.
"All right, Henry, that's the last of them," said Cranky. "Now be off."
Henry laughed. I guess Cranky isn't in the Christmas spirit.
Arr, laughed Salty. "See you around, Henry."
You too, Salty.
"You know, Salty," said Cranky, "the reason why I'm particularly cranky is because I don't have any decorations." "I see what you mean, me hearty," said Salty. "Christmas decorations can really put someone in a good mood." "That's it!" "What's what?" "I know how to cheer Henry up. We'll have the Christmas party take place in his forest." "That plan is ridiculous," said Cranky. "Sir Topham Hatt would never approve." "Do you even know Sir Topham Hatt? He surely will approve, me hearty." "Wait, before you ask him, just don't take any of my decorations." "Don't worry, Cranky, I won't."
And with that, Salty told the dock manager of his idea, who then telephoned Sir Topham Hatt, who then agreed to it immediately.
"Why don't we make it a surprise for Henry?" he said. "I'll have all the other engines do his work for a while, so that way he won't be spoiled."
And he did. Henry stayed in the sheds for a while, wondering if he had done something wrong. Meanwhile, the other engines were hard at work reorganizing the party. It was around 5 p.m. when Henry saw a familiar face. Salty? What are you doing here?
"Come with me hearty. There is something I have to show you."
And from there, Salty and Henry left the sheds. It took a while to get to Henry's forest. A light snow started to fall, but nothing too crazy. Nothing like the storm Gorn had to deal with last year. And once the two engines arrived, Henry was met with his surprise. Whoa! The trees were lit up with twinkling lights and tinsel. All the engines were wearing Santa hats. Sir Topham Hatt and several other people stood proudly before Henry.
"Ladies, gentlemen, and engines, I want to give a special thank you to Salty for coming up with this idea and making it possible. And with that being said, let the festivities begin."
Everyone cheered, and Henry couldn't be happier. A few hours had passed, and most of the partygoers had gone home. Henry and Salty were still there, though, enjoying the peacefulness of the forest. "Thank you, Salty," said Henry. "This was a wonderful idea."
"You're welcome, me hearty. Ah, the forest is truly beautiful in the Christmas snow, is it not?"
"It is," said Henry. "It most certainly is." As the two engines grew more tired by the minute, they could hear some deer prancing in the distance. And in that very moment, Henry and Salty knew that they were at peace in this forest's Christmas.
Midnight engines always boast how big they are. Superior.